Let's be on the record in case number 2016 CR 18, captioned State of Kansas versus Jason Erickson. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, the state appears by Antoine Floyd.
May it please the court, Jason Erickson appears in person in custody and via the Zoom platform, and by counsel Zach Anthony.
All right. We are here set down for a sentencing. The parties were in court back in April, specifically April 8th of 2016, at which time the defendant changed his plea from one of not guilty to guilty. The court there inquired and accepted that, ordered a pre-sentence investigation, and set sentencing. That sentencing got continued for a number of different reasons until today. But the PSI that was ordered in the case, I have received, and the critical findings are as follows. The primary offense is one of possession of methamphetamine, which is a severity level 5 non-person drug felony. The defendant's criminal history score was found to be that of B as in boy. That would leave him, if that is the case, with a presumptive prison sentence with a presumed range of 32, 34, or 36 months. If he has to do that time, he's eligible for 20% good time credit and subject to 12 months of post-release supervision. If he is granted probation today, it would be for a period of 12 months to community corrections. I said primary offense, but I meant sole offense. With that, Mr. Anthony, I know that there is some controversy around the criminal history score. Would you like to be heard on that this morning?
Judge, no need to completely rehash what we've said, what I've said in the past. I am aware that the case law suggests that you can correct illegal sentences at any time. So I do wish to go forward here today. I would like, however, to make a record of my objecting of the classification of number 5, which is a Missouri assault in the 3rd degree. Case number 14 DV-CR28. I'm objecting to that being classified as a person misdemeanor under the idea that it is an overly broad statute and should be classified as a non-person misdemeanor. And because there are 3 person misdemeanors in his criminal history score, that makes him jump from a C to a B. He was expected by us, at least way back in 2016, to be a C. But all that being said, Judge, we want to make that record, but we're willing to go forward here today.
All right. Mr. Floyd, your comments on that objection.
Your Honor, the state would say that the criminal history score is correct in that the challenge misdemeanor falls under Missouri statute 565.070, which is assault in the 3rd degree. And at least according to the state's reading of that statute, it has 6 sections, and all 6 of those sections would be classified as a person felony, or excuse me, a person misdemeanor under some version of Kansas law, whether that be a Kansas assault, a simple assault, or a Kansas battery. The state believes that all those that this law would fit under at least one of those, and thus the conversion is correct, as the crime of conviction was within the 5-year range of when the defendant was convicted in this case here.
All right. Well, I've reviewed that statute, and because we talked about this last time I was here, and the comparative Kansas statutes. And, this is a little bit of a different one, because usually you take one statute, put it up against the other one, see if Missouri has any elements of that are not contained in the Kansas statute, things like that. But this statute really is kind of a combination of battery and assault as we know it here in Kansas, and kind of being broken out in the subsections of that statute. I don't know if the court in Missouri noted which subsection the conviction was under. So I kind of reviewed them all together, or at least individually. And I think that any one of those has a comparative Kansas statute and that, as Mr. Floyd stated, that it would either be the equivalent of a battery here in Kansas under some of those subsections or an assault under others. So I am going to find that it is properly converted to and scored as a person misdemeanor here in Kansas. And I am going to note and preserve the objection of Mr. Anthony to that. But I am going to find for today's purposes that Mr. Erickson is in fact a criminal history B. Anybody else need anything else on the record regarding that issue?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Nothing from us, Judge.
All right. Then, Mr. Anthony, you also filed a motion for departure. Would you like to be heard on that this morning?
I would, Judge. I think all along the parties anticipated that Mr. Erickson had a drug problem that he needed help for. Part of the reason this case is coming before you, that's still a 2016 case that originally was heard by a whole different judge, is that Mr. Erickson had several legal things open at the time. He had time. He ultimately did a bunch of time in Missouri when we perhaps thought that he would not. We were hopeful that he would get treatment there. Now he presents in front of you having finished that out and with a pending with a pending Johnson County drug case. I have spoken with his attorney on that matter. It is my understanding that he will qualify for residential placement out there, placement in the residential center out there. So I'm incorporating that into what I said clear back in 2018 when I filed the motion, because all of the things in my motion are still true, except that part about being on probation in Missouri. But he has taken responsibility for his actions. He has treatment available to him. He's young and has significant opportunity for rehabilitation. I will also add, Judge, that I have records. I have been in contact with his family. Mr. Erickson could give you the specifics of his medical diagnosis, but he has a form of cancer and has been dealing with it during his time in the Missouri prison system. And I think he went to the hospital just recently, or at least he told me he was going to be taken to the hospital just recently while he was in custody in Wyandotte. I see no reason to make him go through those treatments while he's in the custody of the Wyandotte County Sheriff. I would hope this court would take all those things together and grant him probation, knowing full well that what that means functionally is that he will be transferred to Johnson County and hopefully be placed in the residential center there.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Floyd.
Your Honor, when this case was first pled, the parties did anticipate that the defendant would be criminal history C. At that time, the state did agree that it wouldn't oppose any findings for the border box. I do believe that if the defendant is placed in the residential center, that would have satisfied any border box findings necessary, as that, I believe, is some form of treatment. So the state I guess, will join the defendant in his request for a dispositional departure. The state would ask that the underlying sentence be the standard term, and then all traditional fines and costs be assessed against the defendant.
All right. Mr. Erickson, now's your opportunity to tell me anything you want me to know in mitigation of your sentence today.
Okay. I don't know what letter you received today, Mr. Anthony, if it was.
Just tell us, Jason. We can't read it that way.
Yeah.
Just tell us what it says.
I was just seeing if it was had a letterhead from the University of Kansas on it.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So, Judge, you've already had an opportunity to review that?
No. I have not seen it yet. So tell me about it. Look, I don't have any reason to doubt you. In fact, I don't doubt you at all. So tell me what's up.
Okay, so I've been awaiting a bone marrow transplant since I was medically released in May from Missouri Corrections. I was released on probation and medically released to receive a bone marrow transplant. It took about 2 months for a month and a half really for Medicaid to kick in. And by that time, I finally got an appointment. Anyways, the point, what I'm getting to is I asked I've had a lot of things come up in between that have made it just come harder and harder for me to get to the point to where I need to be able to receive this transplant or this procedure. I've written you a couple of times and kind of try to put you in the know about what's going on with me, but this is what the doctor has said today, or yes, I believe it was Wednesday. He said, at the university, at your visit to the university, we reviewed that standard care for leukemia would be to perform a bone marrow transplant in second complete remission. This remains the only substantial chance for long-term remission or cure of the leukemia, although it's not a guaranteed cure. Other maintenance and salvage options may get you additional time, but will not lead to cure long-term. Without ongoing treatment, there is high risk of relapse in the 6 to 12 months. I've already relapsed once. I was actually diagnosed in January of 2019. After 7 months of chemotherapy, I went into remission for about 9 months and relapsed in March. And that was what led to me being released on medical release. He said he just got, okay. The need to complete pre-transplant evaluation, including bone marrow biopsy to determine disease status, as well as overall medical, psychological, and social assessment. I discussed the critical need for a transplant caregiver, and he gave an outline of the transplant process, which is basically the outline. The process is going to need for a conditioning chemotherapy, which is going to be an additional, which will include an inpatient hospitalization for 3 to 5 weeks. On average, and the need to be seen in the clinic 2 to 3 times per week for the transplant, after the transplant for 100 days. So essentially, I'm going to be in a treatment for the next 6 months for this transplant. Let's see where it says, I further discussed that while medically indicated, the transplant may not be feasible if there are barriers such as ongoing substance use. So it's going to be necessary for me to be clean. They will not even consider giving me the transplant or putting me through the process because it is quite a dangerous procedure. If I'm dirty for methamphetamines. Not adherence to recommended treatments or lack of a caregiver. Currently, incarceration prohibits standard treatment of leukemia. And if the BMT is not feasible, we could consider an oral azacitidine maintenance up until it is. So I've written you several times, like I said, so I think you kind of might have an idea of where I stand. I've been doing this a really long time, and I'm really sick and tired of being sick and tired. I actually, I kind of feel like cancer is giving me another chance at life. I mean, to be honest with you, I had spent a long time, the dominant portion of my life feeling sorry for myself and like feeling like a victim, like I was just being assaulted by life. And initially the cancer or being diagnosed with cancer did not help that. Honestly, for the first year, after through that remission process or treatment and remission process, I really didn't even believe that I had cancer. I was pretty much in full denial. When I relapsed in March, it was kind of like a smack in the face. And I don't know, initially, it still took me a while to get to a point where I felt like I wasn't being victimized again, and I don't know what changed my heart really, but I've been praying a lot since I've been locked down, since I've been here this time, and I've got a full line of familiar support now. Like all my family's behind me. I have a spouse, my family's coming in from all over the country to support me right now, and I'm starting to realize I really have everything, not nothing, I have a lot going for me. I'm very fortunate right now. I'm alive, so I really don't have any excuses at all to not take full advantage of any opportunity given to me today and move forward with my life. So I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I just want you to know that my attitude is different. I'm ready. I'm done with it. I can't handle this anymore.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Erickson. And look, I oftentimes at these sentencings have to tell people why it's important for them to put in the effort to get clean. You clearly don't need to hear that because you know it, and it applies to you 100 times over. The normal person that we see here struggling with those same kind of issues. So I think you got a good handle on it. I think you understand the consequences. I can sit here and threaten you that if you go back to your own lifestyle, all the things I'm going to do to you. But it seems like the doctor's words are a lot more powerful than mine. So I'm going to let them stand. Mr. Anthony, know any reason why I should not now proceed to sentencing?
No, Judge.
All right. Well, I'm going to follow the plea agreement and I'm going to grant the defendant's motion for a downward dispositional departure. I would note for the record the state's joining in that request. I will find that the defendant's motion and defense counsel argument here today do in fact equal substantial and compelling reasons to depart from the guidelines. I find that a non-prison sanction will serve defendant reformation and public safety much better than a prison sentence. Therefore, the defendant will be sentenced to the standard term of 34 months at the Department of Corrections. If he has to do that time, he'll be eligible for 20% good time credit and subject to a post-release supervision term of 12 months. His application for probation is considered today and it is granted to community corrections for a period of 12 months. A particular term of that probation will be that he successfully complete the residential center program in Johnson County if he is in fact admitted to it, and if not, whatever alternate treatment program is recommended by his evaluations. I'm frankly of a mind to waive court costs, supervision fees, and attorney fees. I can't imagine the level of medical bills that Mr. Erickson must be facing in these days. And so I will waive all of those costs. Looking back at the PSI really quickly, I want to make sure, I want to make sure he's been sentenced for a felony in Kansas, and he has within, well, that was 2004. Does Mr. Erickson have a Kansas felony within the relevant time period for database, DNA database? I don't think he does. Mr. Anthony,
Yeah, Judge, I don't know that he does either. I'm looking at the same PSI you are, and I believe that the most recent felony is the Johnson County case from 2004, and I do not know that that was a DNA database era. So the court may need to order that.
I don't think I have the authority to waive it either. Yeah,
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Erickson.
Are you asking whether or not the state of Kansas has my DNA?
Not whether or not they have it, but whether they have it in their database of convicted felons. And they wouldn't have in 2004.
Okay.
So I have to assess that fee. I'm going to order payments of $25 a month until it's paid off. I think that is about as low as I possibly can go without, automatically extending probation because he hasn't got it paid. But I'm going to waive all other costs and fees. Any reason why I should not release Mr. Erickson today?
No, Judge.
All right. I'm going to sign a release. All right. Mr. Erickson, as a convicted felon, it's prohibited for you to own or possess a firearm, certain kind of deadly cutting instruments like dirks, daggers, switchblades, basically knives that could be considered deadly weapons. You have 14 days from today to appeal anything about your sentence you don't like. And you may seek expungement of this conviction after a period of time following successful completion of probation. Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Floyd, anything I have not covered today?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
Mr. Anthony?
Nothing from defense.
Obviously, he'll get jail time credit. I'll let you all figure that out and put it on the thing. Ms. Herron, anything that you need that I've not covered?
No, Judge, I can't think of anything.
All right. Thank you all. Mr. Erickson, good luck to you. You know, I hope that things turn out well. They've done amazing things in cancer treatment, and it sounds like you're a really good candidate when you get yourself clean and get yourself out to something that there's no reason you couldn't live a long life. And I hope you do. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
We are adjourned. Have a good weekend, everyone.